Good morning. It is Sunday, the 15th, 9:03. That's what it is here. Tried to film this yesterday, but couldn't because I was editing so many Fractal videos. They're all coming on the channel. FM3, FM9, XFX, VP4, loads of stuff. Different format with band kills. That's coming. Game changer audio, auto pedals. We're doing 8 different amps. There's lots of stuff coming. Today, it's not as much of a rant and more a educating sounds patronizing, but sharing some stuff that I've learned over the years concerning in-house brands. It is very obvious to me because I'm in it now. It might not be obvious to you. So it might be worth taking a few minutes talking about in-house brands and if they're bad or if they're good, if they're hurting the industry, if they're not. Never even thought about if they're hurting the industry. That just came to my mind, but that's a topic we should discuss. And wait, lean back a bit. Okay, so when I started the channel, 11, I think, or 12, 2011, 2012, I ordered an MXR pedal at Thomann, and I had a couple bucks left. I was a guitar teacher. I had not a lot of money. And I was like, what is this? Really cheap, €39, Harley Benton. And I ordered the Ultimate Drive and the American Sound. That's what they were called. And it said Harley Benton on them. And they were very good. So they arrived. There was my guitar student, Moritz, was there when they did. And we were like, this is really impressive. Let's make a video, because I started a YouTube channel for private purposes. I had a couple of guitar licks on there for me, for my students. And, hey, the dog peed in the living room. Look, Leslie, something like that. Share private videos with my family. And those videos were, for the time, well done, because I have a studio. I knew how to do editing and cameras. I had done that in an ad agency in Los Angeles. So all of a sudden, people were like, oh, these are the best videos for these pedals. And then they wanted more. So I called up Thomann and said, would you like me to do more videos for the Harley Benton pedals? I then found out that those were rebranded Joyo pedals. And I started working with Joyo, who sent me some more pedals. Joyo didn't send me more pedals. They sent me more pedals. Because the brand Moor, Mooer, is actually also owned by the Joyo people family. So Jack owns Joyo, and his wife owns Moor. It's weird. So that's how the channel got started. That's how I started working with Joyo. And that's how I found out that these Harley Benton pedals are literally the same pedals that Joyo is making, but it says Harley Benton on it. And we call that OEM. What does it stand for? I'll look it up. I don't know. It means when a product is made by someone else for someone. So they do the research, they do everything, and then they say, look, we don't want to have a brand. You can have that product with your name on it. And that is a lot of what in-house brands are. Some company, usually in the beginning of the brand, Chinese, saying, look, we don't want to do marketing and break into your territories and all that, but we have this great product. Would you like to sell it with your name on it? Because you have this in-house brand. So that's what Joyo has done a lot. And that's what happens with in-house brands a lot. So an in-house brand is a bigger shop that has the finances and the logistics in terms of service, shipping, warehouse, all that. And also putting in bigger orders, because only then does it make sense in terms of the amount of what you're buying. Bigger orders, the amount of what you... Only then does it make sense with getting a good discount because of the volume. So a shop like Thomann, music store, a guitar center, a Gear for Music, Sweetwater could do it. They're not doing it, though. These companies have their own brand. And it's usually an alternative in the lower price point. And we're going to see that a music store breaks the rule there a little bit. But offering alternatives in the lower price bracket, because I think if you're doing a higher price bracket, you would have to be much more picky when it comes to quality control. You have to have some kind of research and development R&D department to have original products, right? So doing lower price bracket products is relatively easy because you can just crank out clones and copies of a DW drum kit, a copy of a Strat, a copy of a pedal that's actually a tube screamer. That's easier and cheaper to do than here's our completely designed and developed product that we worked on for 3 years. So it is, because of those reasons, usually a lower price bracket. But you've probably seen these digital modelers. Harley Benton has the DNA effects, but we know that that's the same that Donner has, the same that Flammer has. It's rehoused and it's slightly different, but we know that the guts are all the same. So those are OEM products. And this is usually how it starts, just selling some products with your label on it that also other companies have. Like those pedals I talked about, those Harley Benton pedals, or Harley Benton. There was an American company, can't remember the name, that had exactly those pedals, different colors. Music store in Germany sold them as Fame pedals, exactly the same pedals, different colors. Thomann, Harley Benton, actually stayed with the original Joyo colors, but they were all the same pedals. And Joyo made bank. They killed it with those because they didn't just have one brand selling them. They had many brands selling them. And they're great pedals. Can they fail once in a while? Yes. But that's a relatively safe thing to sell. Now, guitars is a different topic, because with guitars, you need QC. You need someone to look over the damn thing, right? Okay, let's roll back. We need to talk about distribution chain first. Why are these in-house brands so much cheaper? And does it mean, this is really the main topic of this video, does it mean that they're crap because they're so much cheaper? Is a Gear for Music guitar, or Henry's, we're going to talk about Henry's, which is the in-house brand for a shop from Prague in the Czech Republic. And Henry was he calls himself Henry. His name is Hindra, I think, or something like that. Henry. He was just here dropping off some guitars. Nice guy. Are these comparable with a guitar in the same price bracket from a brand? Which is, of course, what you're doing, right? You're comparing it to guitars in the same price bracket. So let's take a Squier, $180. Let's take a Harley Benton at $180. Are they comparable to each other because of the price? No, they're not. That's what you got to realize when you're bitching about these in-house brands. They're not comparable. Why? Distribution chain. Let's take, before we go to Fender, let's take Ibanez as an example. And I love Ibanez. I love the people from Ibanez. But it is a good example of an exploded distribution chain, in a way. So Ibanez is a company in Japan. They do not make guitars. They order guitars. They commission guitars. They don't make them themselves. They do research. They design them. They have artists. They have trade shows. They have a website. They work with distributors. Ibanez themselves don't make products. They come up with the products, but then they look for the right factories. It might be World Music. It might be many other brands they work with. to get the guitars manufactured. They work with Fujigin in Japan to do the prestige line, right? They've got someone else doing the super high-end stuff. But Ibanez themselves does not make the guitar. So they go to a company saying, we need this guitar and it needs to be, it needs to cost us $100, right? A lower level Geo or whatever, or maybe even AZES. And then the guitar gets made. They go through some prototypes, but the guitar gets made. And then when it's done and leaves the factory, the guitar is fully paid, right? The instrument's done. But you can't get it. You don't have it in your hands. And what it costs at that factory isn't what Ibanez has to sell it for, because Ibanez Japan, the actual company, has to make money on it. Obviously, they come up with it, website, artists, marketing, trade shows, blah, 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 right? The employees want to eat. So let's say, just a rough number, might not be correct, they add 30% on top of what they paid for it to make money on it, which is valid. That guitar usually doesn't actually hit Japan. That guitar usually goes directly from the factory, wherever it is, to the distributors, and it's then the distributor's job to do the quality control. Now, Meinl in Germany has a big quality control department. They do a phenomenal job. That needs to be paid for, right? That distributor has the connection with all the shops. They got people driving to all the shops, building those relationships. They come here to Gear Street. They've got a showroom. They've got a warehouse. They do advertising. They work with local artists in their territories, which is also Eastern territories, so Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, blah, blah, blah. So Meinl puts in the work. Right? No, I didn't ask you anything. So Meinl gets it into Thomann, and quality controls, and warehouses, and does service, and does parts, and does repairs, warranties, all that. So Meinl says, look, for our job, we want 30%. So we have the guitar that was already fully paid for, and then Ibanez Japan gets money. The guitar never actually hits their building. It doesn't have to. It goes to the distributor, which Ibanez Japan needs because they don't know people in Germany. They need headstock distribution in England because they don't know the British shops. They need a distributor in the US because they don't have people on the ground driving around building relationships with the shops. You get the point. So the distributor adds 30%. So we are at 130. Then add 30% of that. That's 36, 166. Am I doing this correct? I think so. Maybe, let's say $170. So already the guitar is $70 more expensive. Then it hits Thomann. I always say Thomann because I work with them. Then it hits a shop. And the shop says, we're going to take that number times 1.6, 1.7, including tax, which I now learned. I always thought that was without the tax. But the tax is a big thing because obviously on top of that number, which is now bigger, in Germany, we have to calculate 19%. In other countries, it might be over 20. In the US, it might be 8, depending whether you're in-state, out-of-state. The whole out-of-state thing makes no sense. US is losing trillions every year. Because of that, it's so stupid. Because when you're ordering something out of state, but you're still in the country, you're not paying the taxes. You're supposed to pay the taxes in your state, but you're not. It's trillions lost in the US. That's so dumb. Sorry, US people, but that's a lot of taxes you're not paying. That's a lot of roads and schools you're not building. I know, shut up, it's not your country. Come on. So 170 times 1.6. Okay? So in the shop, the guitar is going to end up at €772, which is in line with Ibanez prices for the lower end guitars. So if they're paying 100 at the factory, 772 is roughly what it would land in the shop for. Now, imagine you have an in-house brand. Same shop, let's say music store. Now, let's say Musikproduktiv. I don't think they have an in-house brand. Let's say Musikproduktiv. They have the Ibanez on the wall, and they have their in-house brand. They didn't put a lot of research into it. They're like, oh, this brand approached us and said, we've got these guitar models. Might be based on ideas of Ibanez, because they probably make the same guitars in the same factory. And then that factory said, we can make these for you, different colors. We changed the shape a little bit here, write MP guitars on it, Musikproduktiv, whatever. So, and then they're saying, well, we're selling them to Ibanez for $100. We're selling them to you for $100. So good deal for the factory. They're just making more of a very, very similar guitar. And again, the quality control isn't up to the factory. It's up to where it goes. The Ibanez guitars checked by Meinl. In this case, they would have to be checked by Musikproduktiv, which would require them to up their quality control department. See, someone like Sweetwater already has a huge quality control department. Not sure about Musikproduktiv, because they would usually depend on the distributors doing the quality control. As a shop, you would hope that the distributors do quality control, and you don't have to check the box again. Now, Thomann, out of 900 guitars they ship daily, check 600, because they're big enough to have their own quality control department, which they also need for Harley Benton. But back to Musikproduktiv. So they're buying the same guitar for $100, and they can do times 1.6, and they can sell it, including tax, for $160. Now, that is technically the same quality guitar. Same tuners, same pickups, same quality of wood, same factory. It's the same guitar with a couple of shape changes. Ibanez ripoff, let's call it that, right? Now the question is that a guitar that's not as good as an Ibanez? Because to the customer standing in the shop, there's one on the wall for $160. There's one on the wall for $272 with a brand name on it. And you're going to think, well, that's Ibanez, $272. That's got to be a better guitar than $160. It's over $100 more. It's got to have better tuners. The pickups have to be better wound and blah, blah, blah. When obviously it's not. The difference in price comes from the distribution chain, right? Because it goes directly from the factory to the shop. And what's missing is a website for these, because the shop already has a website, right? It's the shop website. Artists, working with artists, doing signature models, going to festivals and recruiting artists, building the relationships. No. None of all that overhead. Going to trade shows. Musikproduktiv doesn't go to trade shows with their in-house brand. They don't do that. So all that overhead is gone. And that's why it's cheaper. It's not the actual product, but you don't see that, and you don't know this when you're looking at the two guitars. Okay? And this goes for drum brands. Thomann has Stairwell, which is a lighting brand. They got T-Bone, which is a microphone brand. Same thing. Did they develop the microphones, or are they copies, clones, homages of other microphones built in an Asian country, pretty much where probably, warm audio would be, or many other brands. Where Lewitt is built, the factory where Lewitt's built could go and say, hey, we changed this enough so that it's legal. Do you want this mic as a brand in your shop? Could be. So Thomann has a lot of in-house brands. Guitar Center has in-house brands. Mitchell guitars, we're going to look at those. So now let's look at the Fender example. Is a Squire, which is very, very, very likely made in China, I think, as are comparable guitars of in-house brands. Is that better than a Harley Benton or a Henry's or a Gear for Music guitar? Well, with Fender, they had distribution in countries to get the guitars into the shops. They don't do that anymore. Fender now goes direct, meaning Fender sells directly to the shops. They have warehouses. I think Fender is in the Netherlands. So they have the guitars locally here, which means they can get shipped directly from Asia into the local warehouse. So they don't have to go to California, get checked there, get quality controlled, and then from California again into Europe, which would of course mean customs, extra shipping, make it more expensive. No, I think that goes directly from Asia, wherever it's made there, into the warehouse here in Europe, and then it gets distributed within Europe by Fender. You can also buy directly from the Fender website, which is of course what they want, because then they make all the money on it. And they could make it a lot cheaper on the Fender website. But they're not, because of course, the problem there is, if you can buy it on the Fender website for $160, and then Fender's made their percentage, but at Thomann it's $300, then Thomann's going to say, nobody's going to buy here, that's bullshit, we're not even dealing with you, right? So they wouldn't get the dealers at all. So when selling direct on your own website, you kind of have to do the fair market price and not underbid the dealers, which you could easily do because you have the margin, you have you could make a little bit less money, but then still sell direct and make more money overall because you're not sharing with the dealer. But it literally destroys your chance to ever get into a shop. So they're not doing that. But they're selling direct on their website, which means they're making a lot more money on it because they're taking the price as if there was a dealer in between. And in this example, the guitars could be cheaper. So a Squier could be cheaper than the Ibanez. Why? Well, because remember with Ibanez, there was factory, Ibanez brand, distributor, shop. Now we got factory, Fender brand, shop. We're missing that little distributor bit in between. Now, who's doing the QC? Who's opening the boxes and checking them? Who's doing the service? Who's doing the customer support? Well, technically, either Fender is, not sure how much they are. QC, according to Phil McKnight, who opened the box, said this box has never been opened by Fender anywhere. It came directly from the factory, and it was not checked, and it was in bad shape. Because they're trying to save on that quality control aspect, which with Ibanez isn't doing, but Mayones is, so that guy in between, that distributor, is doing that job. So with Fender, it goes to Thomann, hasn't been checked. Does it get checked at Thomann before it leaves? Or does Thomann say, well, I mean, it's Fender, obviously they checked it. So it might be that you get an Squier, and it's in worse condition than a Harley Benton, because the Harley Benton very likely, not all of them, but very likely got checked. And a basic setup, and does it have any flaws or is it broken, right? Which isn't necessarily true for Fender unless Fender has a deal with the shops saying, look, these things, we don't check them in the warehouse in the Netherlands. We don't have time, we don't have the people. Can you do that? We'll give you a better deal. It's possible. I don't think so, because when you get a Fender in a lower price bracket, they are in pretty bad condition and they do need a setup. Even player guitars for $600, $700. Player series, that's what I'm talking about. So that means the Squier on the wall at Thomann next to the Harley Benton. Let's say a tally. Here, there was not two people in between, there was one person in between. Fender. So technically it's 30% more than the Harley Benton. But Fender, of course, has always sold their guitars for a certain amount. They always had a certain price bracket that they want to be in. So they're likely adding the 30% of the distributor, because they also have a warehouse which costs money, right? And they have the overhead of the artist, the website, the workshop tours, going to festivals, blah, 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 all that stuff. So they're likely taking, which was Mayones in the Ibanez example, and adding that onto their own tab. So likely instead of upcharging from factory to shop 30% and 30%, they're probably doing 50 or 60% upcharge directly to Fender. So Fender makes more money. And then the shop goes times 1.6, and then it lands on the wall, which still means a Squire at 270, which was $100 in the factory, isn't a better guitar than the €160 Harley Benton. I would say Harley Benton because that's a very good example of a high quality budget brand. So you understand the chain now, right? But there's a development, and it is primarily a development at Thomann, and now other companies are getting that it has to be done, which is because we've had the in-house brand so long, and there was a lot of shit about it, and we got crap about quality and quality control, that they're putting a lot more work into the in-house brands. They have not just a factory approaching them saying, hey, can you build this? They have designers in-house. They have people overlooking the whole brand, being in charge of product development for the brand, working with artists, working with Agufish, working with me, working with Guitar Max, because we have signature Harley Bentons. Are they really our signature guitars that we play exclusively? No. But they are fun projects we could do with them, and that project costs money. They do pay us royalties when you buy one of our guitars. So again, that guitar should be more expensive because obviously there's extra overhead. Harley Benton has 3,600 products or something. It's a team manning that. Harley Benton has, or Thomann has, a big quality control department that costs money. So they are upping the game of in-house brands. Thomann has a cymbal brand, a drum brand, electric drum brand, a microphone brand, a case brand where they build their own cases, which is Tone, great cases and rack stuff. They have their own rack brand, which I got 3 of them here. I don't know where they are. Just got them for the Zuta videos. Thank you, Thomann, for that. They sent me 3. Good rack gear. I mean, the racks that are in this room, it says Tone right there because they're good. It's good shit. Studio furniture. You can absolutely buy that. Again, they're putting research into it. They're not just buying something that's already done. They're also probably sometimes doing that, but that was very much in the beginning more and now less, and they're actually working on having their own vibe. The lighting products are great. They've got mixers. I mean, they almost got their fingers in every pot when it comes to having their in-house stuff. Now, again, oftentimes, in-house brands don't have their own websites, other than the shop website. Why? Well, because the website needs to be updated. It needs to be maintained, which is the same word, actually. It costs money. It needs to be designed. That's tens of thousands. With a product like Harley Benton, I mean, a website, 3,000 something products, even if you just put the guitars there, it's a crazy endeavor. If you then do your own marketing, videos, product shots, all that stuff, which Harley Benton does, and their videos are great. Now, all of a sudden, instead of, oh, we're Thomann, and by the way, on our shop website, there's also this brand, which is what it always was. Now it's, we have our own social media. We have our own videos. We do make our own videos with people on camera that need to be paid for, people that need to book these people, a video studio that needs to be rented. We need to have social media people that post the stuff. We need to have social media people that go under videos of mine and of my friends to comment and engage with the audience. We have to have admins on Facebook groups. All that stuff. And you know what? It costs money. It has to cost money. Now, there's 2 ways to recoup that money. Either you make the brand more expensive, which is usually what has to happen, or this stuff makes the brand so much more profitable because you're doing bigger numbers, which also means you can order higher numbers, which means pushing the price down. And all of a sudden there's a mix. It's like, okay, we're selling more, so we're making more, but also we're paying a little bit less for each one. So we can afford the overhead. Could be, right? And with Harley Benton, they now show up for the second time at a Guitar Summit in Mannheim with a big booth, great booth. So they all of a sudden have a trade show presence, which is a team of at least 5 or 6, 7 people having to be there, hotel, travel, pay their salary for the time, book the booth, design the booth, set it up, costs thousands. And that's not thousands that they just pay because it's fun. That has to be recouped with selling guitars. Now, either you make the guitars more expensive, which they're not, or because of it, you're selling more guitars, which I think is what's happening. And that cannot be said for all brands, because some brands are still in the beginning of their journey when it comes to in-house stuff. And then you're still kind of selling the clones proposed to you from the factory direct, or you have a couple of original ideas. We're going to look at Jack and Danny, which are like some of their stuff. Gear for Music kind of have their own shapes. But it's a long development of an in-house brand to become so profitable that the shop says, oh, we're putting more into this. We're going to hire a brand manager. We're going to hire a guy that does the communication with all the factories. Now, Lasse, who is the Harley Benton guy, travels to China, Korea, Indonesia, looks at the factories, makes sure this is all right, tells them, we want this, like, oh no, this wood right here, this is good shit. We want that for this line of guitars, which is why the Harley Benton guitars have a pretty high chance of having this absolutely amazing neck, because he says, I want those necks for our line. And having a massively high volume of guitars they're ordering, they will do that for him, okay? If you order 200 guitars, well, they might reserve the good wood for the company that orders 10,000. Makes sense. You're trying to please the better customer. Makes total sense. And that's where Harley Benton's or Thoman's in-house brand strength is. They can order in volumes that make the companies very happy. And they don't have to work with the companies that have the bad contracts, the companies that will say, take it or leave it. No. They have the power. If you're ordering only lower quantities, they're like, who are you as a customer? Do we care? Yeah, these were all not perfect, right? But then again, it comes down to the quality control in-house. Now, Sully guitars, I don't think it's their in-house brand, but the Conspiracy series from Sully are amazing. They are made by World Guitars. That might change. And there might be some inconsistencies, but Sully catches them, fixes them. The guitars are $1,500. But holy crap, are they good. They're easily worth twice that much. They're phenomenally good. Different price point though. Now, Gear for Music is a brand that came on the market a few years ago. They don't have a shop. It's online sales, and they have some showrooms next to their warehouses, but they don't have a shop. And they have these warehouses. Now, the question is, the in-house brand, does that go to a primary location where everything gets checked and then it moves on to the warehouses? Or does it move directly from Asia to each warehouse, and then it would be up to the warehouse individually to do the quality control? I don't know, because the guitars I got didn't really look like they had much quality control. There was no setup. I had to do the setup. Intonation was off on one. Still, for what you got, some work had to be done on it, but for what you paid, that's what I'm trying to say, not a bad instrument. On the level of Harley Benton, no, because they have a different machinery. They've got different power with the factories. They've got a huge quality control department. They've got a whole team of people literally going to the factories doing that stuff. But this is a nice guitar for the money. This needs to be adjusted because of intonation issue. But it's a 7-string. I had to exchange the tuners. That was one thing. But shape-wise, that's not a clone of anything. It's a fan fret. It's not painted on the back, so you can absolutely see what kind of attention to detail was in there, quite high. And, $300 or something like that. A pretty fair deal for what you're getting. And now you can only, of course, get it at Gear for Music. And sometimes these in-house brands might not make a shop, a brand, money. They might do them to say, hey, look, we sell these guys this really, really dirt cheap guitar, which is actually worth a lot more, which brings up our reputation on the market. But when they buy this, they don't get a gig back, so we sell them a gig back. We sell them strings, we sell them a stand, we sell them a tuner, we sell them the setup tools, maybe the practice amp, maybe a modeler. And if they already have an account, they're probably going to come back for the next set of strings. So let's make this so attractive that they buy this from us. Because chances are, once they're already in, they're not going to buy the gig bag and the tuner and the strings and the stand and all the stuff that we do make money on somewhere else. It's also a good idea. If you're already in the door, you're probably going to stay there. Now, sometimes in-house brands hit it out of the park. It takes a while. When I looked at Harley Benton's 2008 or whatever, we had them in our music school, and the drummer, who was the head of the department, ordered good drum sets, but for the guitar players in the student bands, whatever, it was all Harley Benton's. And they were literally, you picked them up and it's like, there was no weight, there was nothing. It was cardboard. It was, plywood. They were bad, because he also ordered the really cheap ones, but they were not great. And that's a reputation they had to fight with for years. Getting away from that took such a long time. But now, they are the budget brand. That's the standard. This is my modded one. It's got Fishman's in it. Look at it. ABM bridge, plecked stainless steel frets, Graphtec tuners, whole new electronics. But the SC550, which is what that is, at $249, is probably the best single cut you can get in a budget range. They are so good. Some Harley Bentons are good. The Fusions, I've said this, good guitars for the money with the Floyd and your modern Strats. The ST Modern, which they now came up with the Barbage bridge and the locking tuners and everything, phenomenal. The Fusion was good, but not phenomenal. ST Modern, amazing. SC550, you can always buy and have a kick-ass guitar. You haven't seen this. This looks a bit Steve Lukather-ish for me. Really cool. Sparkle finish. That's nice. Roasted maple. Locking tuners. Huh? It's a Henry's guitar. From the Czech Republic. These clock in, that's a different model. Oh God, this is good. God, it rings. These clock in at, I think this is 750, maybe 800-ish. Yeah, okay. Really picky quality control. Goes directly to the Czech Republic, to their shop. They get checked. I'm going to do videos on these. So, yeah, it's not budget, but what you're getting is very, very, very easily twice as much value as you're paying for. There's also loads of goodies in the bag, loads of them. But I'll show you one of the others. This is their Relict series. Locking tuners, HSS, nice lightweight, roasted maple. Aging is, from here, decent. If you look closer, it's not a custom shop Relic, of course. Bernd Kiltz and I, we played this a whole day in many videos. We couldn't put it down. It feels like a high-end guitar. It sounds like a high-end guitar. It rings, it sings. It's just in no way a 650 euro guitar. Not even remotely. It looks cool. They also have them not aged. I've got one here. They got Strats, tallies. Yeah, not original designs, in no way. They're going to get in trouble with the headstock, I think. But you're looking for something that from Fender you would very easily spend $1,500 and above on, because I'm actually thinking this might be and above. I'm thinking this might be more in the 2,000 euro range, tonally, playability. You can save a shit ton of money if it doesn't have to say Fender on here, and if Henry's is fine, because this is $650. And for the reasons that we talked about, right? So if you're buying it directly from them. They also want, because they're obviously not a huge shop like Thomann, they also want to get this into shops. Meaning there has to be some kind of calculation margin-wise where that works. Don't quite know how that's going to work. Again, I will review these. This is such a good guitar. If you're buying a Fender Player Series at 600, 650, it needs a setup. And it's with some mods, they become halfway decent. They usually need new tuners. I mean, at 600 something bucks, this, I'm telling you, 1,600, 2,000 bucks from Fender, easily. 650 from Henry's. I'm massively impressed by these. Let's quickly talk about some other in-house brands. As I said, Sweetwater doesn't have one. I think they'd be perfect at it. They're super picky. They only want the best. They already do a massively big inspection on all the guitars that leave, including stretching out strings. Sweetwater's quality control is second to none. So why doesn't Sweetwater have their own in-house budget brand? I think it's because Sweetwater doesn't have budget brands at all. They don't carry any brand that primarily deals in a lower price bracket. Sweetwater is upscale. I mean, not like this. They are kind of cool. They're not like, nose up. But the only cheaper stuff you can buy at Sweetwater is lower end Ibanez, lower end Fender, Sterling, which is lower end, technically lower end Ernie Ball, Music Man, lower end Schecter, that kind of stuff. So the cheaper guitars among the brands that they carry anyway, but not a dedicated budget brand, which I think the idea of a dedicated budget brand is a little bit different. And they will, so the top end guitar in a budget brand is going to be of different quality than which is probably going to be $500. But to Schecter, a 500 euro guitar is like, oh, that's our low range stuff. And then that's kind of the attention they pay to that. Whereas the top end guitar in a budget brand, they're going to make sure that that's like their hottest shit. It's a different mindset. Guitar Center has their own brand called Mitchell Guitars. Just found it on the website. They have one single cut. The Stratty one is only a mini guitar, 3/4. Don't get it. And then I've got a modern one. That's not an in-house brand. That's having two models and a kid's guitar. So I'm going to say that's not being curated. That's not being paid attention to. I'm going to say probably quality control is non-existent. I don't know, but I can't take it seriously if they just, we also have these things. And it's always handled kind of differently. I think they have a lower budget brand, Wood something, I don't really remember anyway. Lee Anderton rather invested in and built brands that were then distributed. Chapman, he's got his hands in. There's pedals he was involved with, obviously Victory amps. But that's not in-house. That's the old model of here's a brand, we'll do distribution, but if we sell them at Anderton's, we of course have a higher margin because we don't have all this other stuff. So it's a different idea. Music store in Cologne. As long as I can think of, they had Fame guitars. Now their in-house brands are all called Fame. It's not like with Thomann where you've got the T-Bone, Ton, Stairville, and you don't necessarily know that it's their in-house brand if you don't really dig into that. Now with Music Store, it's Fame. So everything Fame is the in-house brand. So there are Fame, microphones, Fame pedals, Fame guitars, Fame mixers, Fame whatever. So they're rebranding everything as Fame, and then it's Music Store. And they also have Jack and Danny, which is weird. Why isn't that Fame budget? And those are very, very budget-friendly guitars. They come directly from China. I don't think the same attention is being paid to Jack and Danny as is to Harley Benton. It's not growing the same way. It's not, here's the Jack and Danny website. It's like, oh, we also have these. Okay? But I do appreciate that some of the Jack and Danny models are a unique design, which you can do, but it requires someone to draw it up, to check it out, do prototyping. There's, again, more work involved, but there is some of that. Now, the Fame guitars, that's a different topic altogether, because these are not budget. And these have always been pretty damn phenomenal. So the Fame guitars are very clearly an homage / ripoff of PRS guitars. It's interesting that PRS never really got litigious with them. They just accepted it, I guess, or just ignore it. But the Fame guitars come in €999 and they look phenomenal. They play phenomenal. They are very good guitars. They are, I would say, above PRS-SE, which is tough to beat. So the $999 ones, $1299 ones, $1499 ones, they're all made in the Czech Republic. So it's European made. And they're very good. So it's a different idea. It's a different model for an in-house brand. Let's give our customers very high quality, not for dirt cheap, but for quite a bit cheaper than anyone else could offer this, because we are cutting out all the middlemen. And then there are the Fame guitars for $22.99. So we're already talking about higher verging on boutique brand. Those are made by Mayones in Poland. And Mayones guitars start at $3,500, something like that. So Mayones guitars are very high priced and very, very good. Mayones makes brilliant stuff. And as far as I know, the €2,300 Fame guitars are made by Mayones, and they're very nice. If you look at them, they've got shutter tuners, they've got good pickups. This is some very good shit. Different idea of an in-house brand. Harley Benton would never be able to do that. I think they might have tried, but you would never accept a Harley Benton for $1,000, a Harley Benton for $1,500, because in our mindset, Harley Benton is a cheap brand. If Thomann wanted to do that, they would have to establish another brand with another identity, with another website, another booth, and it's just all this extra cost. When we could just say, well, the guitars are so well QC'd, the people behind it are good people. Why not accept a Harley Benton for $1,500? If it's equivalent to a guitar from another brand for $2,500 or $3,000, which it probably would be, given the distribution model. So, bottom line, it's all in cutting out the middleman. Oh, very quickly, the battery's running out. This is a big topic. I thought it would be a 10-minute video. It isn't. It's a big topic. Is that bad for the industry? Well, it's definitely bad for some of the companies that need the extra people in between. It's definitely a challenge. I don't want to say bad. It's definitely a challenge for Yamaha. Yamaha is like Fender. They don't have a distributor in between. They're their own distributor, but there's Yamaha. They have to have the offices. There's Fender, there's Ibanez, there's Schecter, who need a distributor. For all these, it's a challenge that it's very tough for them to offer a guitar for €300 that's equivalent in build quality and parts to a €300 Harley Benton. Because here's Schecter ordering them in Asia. Here's Musikmaya, the distributor for Germany. And both of these people want to have money. Right? So how do you offer the same guitar for the same money as Harley Benton when it goes directly from the Asian factory to Thomann, when the other brands have these two guys in between. It's almost not possible. But the thing is, and that's what's happening, is they're realizing that this is not some budget brand that we can ignore. They're going to realize that Henry's is not a budget brand that they can ignore because that quality is ridiculous. They realize that, and they have to come up with a plan to compete. So that competition, which again, for them, probably annoying, drives innovation. That competition drives them to offer a higher quality in a lower price bracket. So the AZES, okay, that's $349. Is that comparable to the Harley Benton ST Modern Plus? I don't know. But they have to come up with something, with an answer to Harley Benton, which for them, I think, means getting stronger products into the lower price points. To you, getting better guitars from brand names in the lower price points. So if a brand name like Ibanez, Schecter, Fender, insert the name here, is relevant, you're getting better guitars in time now, but the time has passed. That's happening now. You're getting better guitars because of brands, of in-house brands, getting stronger, getting better at what they do. And I think Harley Benton is the first in-house brand that has branched out to now have a booth at a trade show, branched out to have a big website. And they've taken this to a bigger level, being more competitive with the big brands because of it, being higher in quality because of it. The stuff they're coming up with is phenomenal. But they can do this because of the volume, because people keep buying it, right? If a company makes money, it gets better. So, lots of thoughts on this. I hope that clears up some things, why these guitars are cheap or affordable. I know cheap always sounds bad. I say cheap, it doesn't matter. More affordable, but not by sacrificing quality. There's other things at play that I hope I outlined why they are affordable. Hope that helped. That's my rant for Sunday. I'll edit this now and edit more stuff, edit some slideshows, and then on the couch, I promise Leslie. So in about 5 hours, my Sunday is over. Love you guys. Please use the links to these shops. If you want to buy anything, use the links under the video. That's how you support the channel. This was not sponsored by anyone, obviously. Thanks so much, and animals at the end.